Hey, it's Kara from East to West Homeschool. If you're new to my channel, I am a homeschooling mom of 5 kiddos, and new to us this year is Drawn into the Heart of Reading. This is going to be an overview. It's not a review because I have not actually used it with my children yet, but I'm happy to go more in depth. I had a subscriber ask me if I could do a little more in depth with this, and I have been given permission by the publisher to share some things, but I can't show you the whole book because I did not get permission for that. This is not a sponsored video. This is just what we're using this next year, and I hope that this video blesses you and helps you understand more of what this curriculum is like. Now, when I bought this book 2 years ago, I think it was 2 or 3 years ago, I got this in the mail and I was like, what? Okay, when you order a book and it's a teacher guide and it's this thick, what do you think to yourself, right? I do not have time to sit and read teacher guides after teacher guides. And so curriculum that I've gotten that has guides like this, I actually just shelved, like literally shelved for a couple of years because I wasn't really in a place where I felt I could expand on this on my own knowledge in order to be able to teach it. Well, for Drawn into the Heart of Reading, I am so thankful that I was actually wrong. When I first sat down to look at this curriculum and I thought I had to read this entire thing, I was very pleasantly surprised that it only took me, I'm going to say half a day because my time for planning is very divided. Like I have an hour here, an hour there, time to put my feet up at night or whatever. So I'm not exactly sure on the exact amount of time I took to plan this, but I will say it probably took about half a day from start to finish. And I tend to be an over planner. So if you're not an over planner, this is actually an open and go curriculum. You could just open and go with this. So you'll see that in a minute when I show you the flip through. Okay, the overview is on Drawn into the Heart of Reading, the program, but also because I'm doing it with 4th and 5th grade, this is the level 4-5 student book. So I will get into page by page what this Drawn into the Heart of Reading shows at the beginning. And this you can find on the Heart of Dakota website. So what I'm showing you, you can go ahead and look up if you want to see it closer. So it has a table of contents here that kind of talks about the introduction, program structure, the different genres, then getting started, and an appendix. I've already done some planning, which is what I'm personally covering up at the moment. I'll get into that a little bit later. The next page is introduction. And it is written to use with multiple ages at the same time. Yay! Okay, I love stuff like this that I can use with my large family because the way that this works, and I'll show you, is we actually can do all kids, all reading levels at the same time. Now that sounds impossible, yes, but I will get into it. There are program goals here and then a program structure. The way that Carrie Austin does it is she divides it into 9 literary genre units. Now, if you have done Heart of Dakota in a different form, not the reading, but the read alouds, she divides those into these as well. So my kids are very familiar with this, and it's just going to expand on it for them. So I'm super excited to do that. I have loved reading a variety of genres in our read aloud times. And I'm super excited also that they can be used in any order because that did factor into my planning on when they read which books. Each of the 9 units contains 20 days of instruction. It says on this page what those 20 days are. It includes a kickoff or introduction to the genre, 15 days of leveled lessons, assigned reading of literature that you select to match the genre, which in my case, my kids selected them. And then 5 days to work on 1 of 3 project options at the culmination of the genre. So going back to the last page, there are also story elements that are emphasized in each unit. And then there are godly character traits, and there's also some subcategories too. So these are done according to their grade level approximately. For my older 2 children who are 4-5, my 4th grader does read about at a 4th grade reading level. He probably could do fine with 5th too. And then my 5th grader does read at a 5th grade reading level. So this will be perfect for us. Each level in the daily plans is labeled. And so this is where it really gets handy. Okay, first of all, they do make an option for you with a clock that simplifies things in that, like if you have a day where you really have to get it in quickly, you could do that. Now for my planning purposes, I am not using that because that will be our fallback. But here's how it looks using it with multiple ages. Okay, so there's level 2, 3, level 4, 5, and level 6, 7, 8. This is all in the teacher's guide. And it shows you that on prior to day 1, all 3 levels are doing the same thing. Now, in my homeschool, I do have a 2nd grader, but she's not quite ready to do this kind of stuff. We're still working on basic reading. But my level 4, 5 are both going to be doing it at their level. And so together we will introduce the genre, even though they're reading different books. And if you had kids in these other age categories, you would do this all together. And then I wrote down, I went through and I saw, okay, they need me for this. My kids need me for that. All levels are together. They need to meet with me for this. They complete this independently, so they don't need me for that. They meet with the teacher for this. They can complete independently or all levels together. I'll probably have them do this independently. And then the last one is the ending project, and it says meet as needed. After going through this guide here, I do think that there are some that they'll definitely need my help with and others that they probably won't. But in any case, they'll have to check in with me, or I'll have to correct it, or sometimes it might be like a presentation that they'll have to do to me. In any case, it'll just depend, and I'll have to plan that per genre. But the nice thing for me is then going through this guide, I really only had to go to the prior to day 1 stuff and pick out what our kickoff will be. There's lots of ideas, and I'll show you that in the biography unit in a minute. And then really these are all just laid out in the book, so I don't need to really plan any of this. And then here is where the other place where I will have to pick an option. There's one of 3 options. Now what I didn't realize is that only 2 of them do you not need an extra book for. The 3rd one, you need a book, and it's listed on their website. I can't remember exactly what it's called, but it is about take home your book reports or bring home. I'll link it below. But I have opted, no, I'd rather not spend extra money, so I'm picking one of the 2 options for each unit. Option number 1 tends to be on character, and option number 3 tends to be like a project. So it just depends on the unit. Okay, so getting into biography and how this looks, there is an intro to the genre for each genre, a definition, common characteristics, there's story element emphasis, so this would be like the story element, and then a godly character trait emphasis, which in this case would be responsibility. Then there's another definition and sub-qualities that they will study. Prior to day 1, I've gone through here and I wrote down plan. It says decide how much time you want to spend on the kickoff. Now I feel like it depends on which kickoff you choose, so you may want to pick your kickoff first. Then it gives all kinds of possible kickoff ideas. See, there's 5 on this first page, and then there are 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 on this page. And I didn't say which option I was picking, but I made a note that this could be a field trip option. So this one looks super fun, and I think this is the one I'm going to aim for, depending on what we're able to do during COVID times. Maybe it could be a virtual field trip if we can't do an in-person one. But this one option for a biography kickoff says visit the historical home of a person that is no longer living. Discuss what you can discover about the person from that environment. I just think that sounds like so much fun. Okay, then we get into biography day 1. It says, prior to meeting with the students for day 1, follow the directions for getting started. Okay, then I wrote plan, have the first book and 1 assigned reading calendar for each student. So I will then take out the level 4-5 book and show you what that entails. So again, table of contents, just like the teacher guide. It's actually listed in the same order for genre, which is kind of nice. So again, the explanations of the genre, story element, and character trait. Then we have this assigned reading calendar, which is step number 2 of day 1 for me. So I will then take their student book. So in my daughter's case, it's the story of Phyllis Wheatley, and I have noted that there are 160 pages to read in here. So she can fill in the book title. And here's what you do. You pick 3 books at a pace of 5 reading days each, 1 book at a pace of 5 reading days and 1 book at a pace of 10 reading days, or 1 book at a pace of 15 reading days. So in this case, I think she'll need all 15 days. So then I will take 160 and divide it by 3 weeks, and I'll put the number in here, how many pages per day she should be reading. And I'll probably fill these in through week 1, because if she gets behind, she'll get discouraged, knowing my daughter. And then I'll come back the next week and fill these in and how many days or how many pages she has left. Now my son picked a landmark book. I think this will be a pretty easy read for him. So for now, I'm going to have it, I'm going to treat it as though it's 15 days. But if he reads this in like 10, I might find, some picture books for him to read the last 5 days that are biography. Or I might pick a smaller book that he could read in 5 days. But it has a lot of flexibility, and I love that about this. Okay, so getting back to the teacher guide. It literally tells you what to say. If you can see that, it says, say, today we will be doing a pre-reading activity. Isn't that awesome? It's all laid out. I don't have to plan that. I can just read it to the kids. Then it has discussion questions to discuss with your student. Then, oh look, level 2-3. I don't have a 2-3-year-old, even though it is teacher directed. I don't have a level 2-3 reader. So boom, gone, done. Okay, but I did go through and circle what I do need to do. So level 4-5, it says independent or teacher directed. So this could be one where they do it themselves, or I could do it with them, but it does say tell the students to read the assigned pages. So this could be something where I put it in their planner, or I just say, okay, time to read. Or I could read this and do exactly what it says, but there's a lot of flexibility, again, in just having them do it independently, and I'm very much a proponent of having my kids do things independently where they can. So next page, 6, 7, 8, boom, gone, don't need to do it. 2, 3, boom, gone. Okay, level 4, 5, independent. So I don't need to do anything with them. So I can skip ahead. There, I don't need to do anything there. This is level 2, 3. Oh look, here's level 4, 5. So this would be day 4. And it would be godly character traits, examples. And again, it tells me, tell the students, the students need to do this, etc. It just lays it all out super nice. And again, it gives you options, independent or teacher directed. Okay, level 2, 3, don't need to do. Level 4, 5, here we go, independent. So I don't need to help them with that. And this is the end of what I can show you in biography, but you kind of get the idea. The whole book is really a lot like this, going from page to page to page, telling me what to do, what to say. I will say that when I came back, I'm going to go back to this general daily format. When I looked through this book, I realized that really all I needed to plan was day 1, or the prior to day 1, and this project for the end. These are the things that, depending on what you decide, you might want to plan a field trip ahead of time. You might want to have objects or costumes or whatever it is ready for these things, depending on what you pick. So those you would need to plan ahead of time. Now the middle stuff for me, I don't think I really need to do a whole lot of planning for that. So basically I spent probably a couple hours going through for every genre and just reading through these and picking which ones we're going to do. So it was super easy, super fast prep for me. Thankfully, this scary book was not scary any longer. Now I'm going to get into the level 4, 5 because I showed you just briefly the table of contents, this. Now it's a lot like book reports. So it has a character web. It has character profiles, godly character, and a biographical collage. And so these are the things that they'll be doing that week. And it, again, shows me to kind of introduce it to them. And that is it. That is really it. Now, as far as planning goes, getting back into what I've written here, I've actually taken the time and I went through and I wrote down the option that we chose for our final project. So the ones that I picked for our final project, some were characters, some were projects, and I just wrote them beside the genres so that I knew, easily I could just see what we were doing. Also, I put check marks next to these once I had them in my calendar. I actually laid the books side by side that my son and daughter have picked to do. And this way, I know how long the books are, what theme the books are. For example, this one is one my daughter picked. It's a humor category, but it's Christmas. And so do I want her to do this right away in the beginning of the school year? No, I want her to do this at Christmas time. So even though my son's isn't Christmas specifically, we are doing humor over December. The next thing I looked at is I also looked at how long the books are. The Secret Garden is one of my daughter's longer books, thicker books. And so I decided I'd rather not have her do that at the beginning of the year. I'd rather have her do shorter books like Meet Samantha. These books are very easy reads for my son and my daughter. And so this will be more toward the beginning of the year. So that's kind of how I decided which month to plug in which books. Just going off of the genre as well as the difficulty of the book. I looked at my kids' other curriculums, so my kindergartner is not going to be doing this reading, but my kindergartner is learning about character. So I flip to week 18, I obey right away. Obedience is a character trait covered in week 18 of My Father's World. And you may remember that obedience is also listed as a godly character trait. So do you think that when I have multiple children and I combine them, that combining obedience in one book and combining obedience in another book is helpful to a mom with lots of children? Yes, it is. So yes, you can use this with multiple ages, but this is how I decided to combine them more, because I will introduce the character qualities at the same time in Heart of Dakota with my older kids, as well as kindergarten with my younger. I hope this makes sense. So I realized that all of this looks complicated in combining the different curriculums, but honestly for me, over planning at the front of the year actually helps me in the end, because then when I get to obedience in the chapter, so in week 18, if I have that as the start of the genre, then I don't have to double teach. I don't have to teach two different things. Those are things that I can involve all of my children in and do together. Now, if I had not planned that out that way, you could just use this as an open and go curriculum and go through it and just do it as it is. But for me, it is actually easier in the long run to plan this out. So that's what I have done. I hope I'm not overwhelming you. And I hope that you don't buy this book and think, I have to read it all, because you don't. And I hope this helps alleviate your fears, because it would have been helpful to learn that before I put this on my shelf for 2 years. Anyway, I hope you guys have a great day. If you liked this video, consider giving me a thumbs up and subscribing to my channel if you want to see more. And if you have any questions or comments, don't hesitate to comment below. Thanks, friends. Bye.